Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. I'm wearing my Diego shirt today.
Very nice.
It helped me with my lifting this morning. I got my training in already.
Nice.
Because I know I skipped a brunch, which it was raining anyway. But I said, I can't join you for brunch this morning. I have too many things to take care of. I have to go to the gym before the podcast. I actually set my alarm this morning because I was like, I have to get up, I have to eat, I have to go to the gym, podcast. Now afterwards I can sit and knit and watch murder shows.
You got like a serious headset.
I know.
Yeah, this is Yuri's headset.
He does not
You
play.
are not messing around.
No.
I know you look like you're about to take off.
Yeah.
So welcome back, everybody. We are here today with Kelly Adams and Juliana Molina, and both of these ladies train at 5x3. Kelly's been with us since 2014, 2013, Kel. After
I think it's 2014.
2014, after our second contest or third contest?
I joined after my first contest. I think it was your
14.
second?
Third, because we did 2012 and then 13, so it must have been 14.
Yeah.
And Julie, you joined us 2000.
Just a couple years ago?
7, 8. Did you join us when we moved to the new gym?
Yes, you had moved to the new gym.
So that was 2018.
Yes.
2018. So Kel's been with us since 14. Juliana joined us in 2018. And now they are both pregnant. Woohoo! Congratulations to both of you.
Congratulations, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when are you guys due?
I'm due May 20th.
I am due September 11th, which is coincidentally my husband's birthday.
Oh, wow.
At the day before Diego's birthday and the day before our Strong Woman contest. So lots of excitement going on.
Yeah, busy time.
So we wanted to have the ladies on the podcast today to talk about their pregnancy and their training and how they have approached their training once they found out that they were pregnant. And I'm just going to turn it over to kind of both of you. If either one of you wants to start first, what we'd like to hear is just what your training was, prior to, like what you've been doing the past couple of years, when you started, and your experience with lifting, and then what you have done since you've gotten pregnant. How has your training stayed the same? How have you had to modify it? I just wanted to kind of give an overview of the two different people and their different training methods and what you've had to do to kind of keep yourself going.
Who wants to go first?
So who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, Kel.
Okay, so I've probably been training with weights for close to 10 years at this point, doing just different things. I started the Y just with machines, and then was introduced to starting strength by a friend, and my husband and I kind of started strength training together. And I was doing that at just a commercial gym, doing squats, deadlifts, and such. And then I had heard about Charm City Strong Woman, and I did the contest, and then I decided to come join 5x3. And I've been doing the starting strength, powerlifting type training, along with strong woman training since then.
You've done a couple strong woman competitions, right? How many have you done?
Yeah. So I did Charm City every year from 14 to 19. I didn't do this year because I was about 10 weeks at that point. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't be rolling a concrete ball up my body. I don't know.
That was really hard for me to like keep my mouth shut when you.
Oh my gosh! So you knew Emily, but nobody else did.
Well, yeah, because
there needed to be some kind of explanation. Why isn't Kelly doing strong woman? That's like unusual.
I told Emily really early because I wanted someone to know if I was like not doing my normal stuff or if I like passed out at the gym or something. I thought someone should know.
And I've always been told first. I'll just say that. Any of the ladies who have been pregnant over the years.
You mean they tell you before they tell Diego?
They tell me. Yes. Before he later. Yeah. But so I'm always the first to know. I think when April got pregnant, I was the first to know. And I'm trying to think of who else was pregnant at this time. Hugh. I mean, I'm always the first one to know because, of course, and I should be, as I'm the coach, right? But also, just so I think it's more you knowing and being able for me to say, "Oh, congratulations," and do what you need to do. I think it's almost like there's that kind of you need to let me know just in case you're right, something does happen to you, or I can also reassure you that whatever you do is fine. Because that was definitely April and Hugh's they needed that reassurance. Like, is it okay to continue the strength training or can I do something else? And that's definitely what I want to talk about, today.
So Kelly, you sort of already indicated one of the decisions that you made early on was not to compete in the Strong Woman contest this year.
Yes.
Was there anything else that was different with your training?
No, I just kind of kept up with training, kind of backed off of weight, not going for any PRs or anything, but I had already been kind of doing lower weight because of just being at home all summer due to lockdown. And then right after I started back at the gym, I had some issues with sciatica. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really up to full weight anyway. And it actually worked out really well because after the sciatica flare-up, I really focused on keeping my form really tight and just dialing that in. And that's been really helpful throughout pregnancy to make sure I'm not lifting with bad form and, excuse me, and just kind of making sure that my technique is perfect rather than going for a really heavy weight with suboptimal technique.
Yeah. And I definitely noticed it. I mean, because it was earlier on, like in June, right? When you came back, Kelly came back kind of full on 100%. And I think it was like the second week that you were back, the sciatica flared up. So we really dropped down the weight and dialed in her technique big time. We worked on her squat. We worked on the deadlift and made some really nice progress there. And that's why your lifting looks so good now. Because your form is so on point, and the weight's again still relatively heavy. It's not heavy for you, but it's still. I mean, considering that you're due, in about a month and a half.
Yeah, 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
8 weeks if I go to.
I was going to ask you to do the math for me.
Yeah. 8 weeks if I go to full term.
Yeah.
But like 37 weeks is considered like early term. So it could be like 5 weeks.
So let's turn it over to Juliana because I want to hear your story. And then what I want to do is basically have Rebecca and I ask some questions about, about the training and all to talk about the modifications that we've had to make. And Juliana.
So I started lifting in 2018 with you guys at 5x3. Before that, I hadn't done any lifting. And I found out about you guys from Abby, who also lifts there. Yep. She was training for a strong woman and had fabulous bruises all over her calves that I know quite concerned. And inquired if she was okay. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm just, training at this super awesome gym. So I guess I started with you guys and really focused on learning basic lifts and strength training. I did the Stronger Together meet. And then the last meet I did was the Strong Woman competition, which was my first one. And it was tons of fun. And then I found out that I was pregnant and immediately was like, hi, Emily. I'm like a few long and I know it's really early, but I need to tell you.
Yep.
And then promptly was like, I also need to tell my parents because that's a weird order of people.
So you tell Emily.
I always get to know first, and then I have to walk around pretending that I know nothing.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
pretty much found out. I called my midwife, who's a very close friend, and then went to the gym like 24 hours later, and I was like, oh man, what do I do? Like, are things supposed to change? Like, and I got very nervous for a little bit.
Right.
And for me, my lifting definitely changed pretty quickly. After finding out I was pregnant, I had a little bit of discomfort when I was lifting, when I was squatting particularly, and when I was deadlifting. And so we dropped the weight way down, and then kind of kept it there. I mean, I was lifting, we were aiming to slowly get me, over, from the 250 area to the 300 area, and then dropped it down to like 95. And it was more of a mental battle, and trying to really like listen to my body and focus on, that was the priority. And I was really excited that this past week I lifted 135 again, which, is something. And it's really just been a really nice journey learning to listen to myself and really kind of like pace myself. And like Kelly said, focusing on form more.
Yeah.
And just kind of like having the mentality of like showing up and staying moving has been really great. So,
yeah. And I think that's, I mean, like you just said, going back to when you said you're really nervous, like you came to the gym and you're like, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tricky subject. I mean, the both of you are pregnant for the first time. It's not like you've had experience before with this.
Yeah.
And you've been lifting for the past 3 years. Kelly's been lifting for, the past 10 years plus. So you both have a different background as far as, your lifting. Kelly's been very heavy, with the Strong Woman contest, not just Charm City, but various other contests. So definitely a different lifting background. So of course, perhaps, you might as well, you could have continued to train the same way that you had been training, but in your case, you had to back off a little earlier. In Kelly's case, all she did was kind of back off from definitely not doing the Strong Woman contest, but your weights were still relatively heavy until over the past couple months, you've kind of managed your training, your volume a little bit more. The weights have come down now because things are a little bit more.
Yeah. I was actually going a little too heavy for a while, and I would just not recover from it well. And I had to think, why am I doing this? How is this benefiting me if I'm like going so hard that I'm really sore the next day and not feeling so great? I had to kind of adjust my mindset to what am I doing this for? What am I training for? I'm kind of training for like the equivalent of like the biggest meet of my life, but not so much for like the heaviest weights, but just kind of like an endurance event more.
Yeah.
It's definitely like an uncertain, like there's no like set parameters of like, this is what you'll be lifting. This is how long and how many times. It's like, it's going to happen.
So it's like you guys are listening to like both what's happening in the moment while you're doing the lifting, Juliana. It sounds like that was one of your big pieces of feedback information. And Kelly, you're paying attention to like recovery afterwards. Maybe not so much having issues with discomfort or something like that while you're lifting, but the actual recovery afterwards was giving you some important feedback.
Yes, I've been really lucky, and I haven't had like any discomfort with lifting in general. Most of the lifts have felt really good. Squats feel great. Mm-hmm. Deadlifts with deadlifts, I've definitely had to go a lot lighter than I'm used to, just because it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't feel bad, but just like a heavy deadlift doesn't feel great. And I had to adjust to do the incline bench rather than the flat bench. And then for presses, even before, I wasn't doing the starting strength press with the bounce. I had been doing a strict press for a while, so I didn't need to transition to that. But the heavier weights overhead, now I don't really have the core stability for that. So I've just kind of been
So
doing.
your balance keeps changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've more been doing more reps at a lighter weight. And again, just focusing on really crisp form.
Yeah. Juliana,
Yeah, and I guess also, I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
sorry,
also
no.
like you probably aren't wearing your belt really.
No, I stopped
So-
wearing my leather belt like before I told anyone because it just felt awful right away. And then I wore a soft belt for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I haven't been wearing my belt for quite some time.
And Juliana, you haven't needed your belt for anything just because the weights
No.
are, yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as the weight dropped down, it wasn't necessary. And as far as like the lifts that I was doing, I mean, like we dropped down all of the weights for everything, and I found that deadlifting was the most uncomfortable to do. And I had, not only did I experience like some pelvic pain, but I also had spotting and whatnot, and immediately would call my midwife and be like, the only thing that I did was lift, and I didn't even lift that much. And she would be like, all right, well, you just need to, take it easy. You need to rest. You need to heal.
Yeah.
Like just be careful and listen to your body. And so then Gretchen and you helped integrate using kettlebells
Good.
into my workout to kind of supplement everything.
Yep.
So that I was still able to achieve doing all of the movements and keep, deadlift type movements in without doing, a traditional, barbell deadlift. And then also supplement in with, different movements and do a little bit more conditioning, just so that I'm still moving and still getting my heart rate up and still working out. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah. So you're squatting, and you're benching still, and you're still flat benching. You're doing overhead press. So the only big lift that you've taken out with the barbell is the deadlift.
Yes.
Right?
And and I've modified also to do a strict overhead press instead of having one with a bounce as well. Right. I just immediately felt that it wasn't as comfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we've been working on my strict press already. And we found with my brain, it was easier either do one version of this, of pressing or the other. So strict pressing it is.
So Kel, go back. I want to go back to early on in your pregnancy, because I was floored when you came in that time. So talk about what was going on a little bit with you when you first found out you were pregnant. You were continuing to train. You thought you had a UTI.
Oh yeah. So around Thanksgiving, I couldn't go to the bathroom. I just couldn't pee, and I went into the doctor and they had to drain my bladder, and I had to have a catheter for 5 days with a bag.
Sounds unpleasant.
Yeah, with a bag strapped to my leg.
She was still at the gym. She came
Oh my gosh, Kelly. You're so
She's hardcore. She is.
Yeah.
The woman wasn't going to give up. That's why I was like, Kel, what? You're like, I've got a bag strapped to my leg. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was like the only like pregnancy thing where I was just like, this is awful.
Is this how it's going to be for the rest of the?
Yeah, but fortunately it was fine.
Yeah.
It was just that my uterus just kind of expanded in a way that it kind of blocked off my urethra for a little while.
So that cleared up then. That's like
yeah. They thought it was a UTI, and then the doctor was like, "Nope, you're all clear for that. It's just your body is doing something kind of strange."
He won the lottery, the jackpot.
Yeah, she said she had seen it before, but it's not super common. I'm like, yay.
She still came in and trained. I was like,
well, because it was the kind of thing that
normal then, right?
I just felt better.
Like, yeah. That's the thing. You felt
things
better.
are usual.
Yeah.
And I think that's
I was like, I don't think I can squat because I can't put knee sleeves on.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone else would be at home on the couch watching Netflix.
We all would have texted in or emailed and been like, Emily, this is what's up. I'll see you when it's done.
I'd be like, get your ass in here. Catheter or no catheter. I think the first thing, I know what I said to both of you, and I said this to April, and I said it to Hugh, and I said it to Molly when she was, pregnant with Isaiah. It was, you listen to your body. you come in and whatever you want to do, you do. And I think that is really the key. And with training a pregnant woman, like training through pregnancy, I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you to do what you want to do. And I would never tell someone who had not been training, as you both had, who just, found out that she was pregnant and then wanted to start lifting. That'd be like a no-brainer. It's like, nope, sorry, you need to go to somebody else. But for both of you who have been training, it was keep doing what feels good. What doesn't feel good, don't do. I think it's so many people get freaked out when they discover that someone's pregnant. They've been training. It's like, she's not diseased. She's not dying. She's pregnant. And your body's going to change. It's going to go through a lot of changes. You have to figure out how to work with those changes. Rebecca.
So you guys have like background, what feels unusual with a lift, right? And that's kind of what Emily's talking about. Somebody who's starting out brand new, everything feels unusual. So you wouldn't know necessarily, had you not had prior experience, if the lift was for some reason problematic, whatever. And then you're listening to your body. You have some adaptive skills. You're flexible mentally. You can, adapt your training and make the necessary mental adjustments to go from what did you say, Juliana? Like, pushing on 300 pounds with your deadlift to, okay, we're doing 95, right? And that takes some mental flexibility to be able to adjust to that, which is like nothing to sneeze at. But then what I'm curious about is like, you're getting reassurance, Juliana, like you were saying, reassurance from your midwife. Like, did either of you get any information from friends, from medical professionals, particularly, that would have disinclined you from lifting?
Good question.
No, I called my midwife and, told her, that I was pregnant, was very excited. And we talked, for like over an hour on the phone. And towards the end, I was like, oh, hey, by the way, like, that I lift. And I'm assuming it's fine to continue doing that. And she was like, yeah, like, tell me more about it. And she was like, do you just like go to the gym and like lift some weights? And I was like, yeah, so I do like, strength training and like I squat and deadlift. And she was like, oh, like how much? And I was like, over 200 pounds a few times a week. And she was like, okay. Like, I mean, as long as like you listen to your body and everything feels okay, like the magic phrase is like, listen to your body. If everything feels fine. And she was like, she was like, I would take it the same way that I would with any other athlete. Like if I've got a marathon runner, I'm not going to tell her, stop running. Right. And if I've got somebody who's never run before, I'm not going to say, oh, you should probably, pick up that, pick that up for fun.
Right.
So I've had, support, and anytime anything felt weird, I checked in with her. And the advice was, make sure you rest and we'll check back in if anything has gotten worse. So
good.
Yeah. Did you hear anything different, Kelly, or were you?
No. So when I went in for my first doctor's appointment, the doctor was just like, yeah, exercise is good because labor is work. And I was like, yeah, I strength train. And the doctor who I saw is friends with Coach Gretchen. So I let her know that I go to 5x3, and she kind of knew she doesn't strength train, but she kind of knows what we do there because she knows Gretchen really well. And she was like, yeah, keep lifting, just lift with good form.
I love it. And she's like, Dr. Huffman is your doctor, Terry Huffman, and she's at Mercy, right? That's correct?
Yeah, I see her practice. I see like all of the doctors at the practice, depending on who's available, because when you go in to have your baby, whoever is on duty is the one that's going to deliver your baby. So they kind of have you meet all 6 doctors.
Nice.
So you kind of see someone different each time you go.
Yeah. And it's nice that you're seeing Terry because she has had experience with Hugh. She was Hugh's doctor.
Oh yeah, that is good. Yeah.
So
then the doctor has like a frame of reference.
She totally knows. Yeah. So
well.
she knows.
Yeah,
she knows
that's
Hugh,
excellent.
and then she was Jen's doctor, and Jen just had her baby. One of our members just had her baby in November. And Jen wasn't lifting during the time that she was pregnant because we were in lockdown where it was, it was quarantine. So she found out she was pregnant in March of 2020. So, but she did my online classes. So she was doing kind of, body weight at home basic training classes. She was squatting with a kettlebell and she was doing push-ups and she was consistent. I mean, Jen didn't stop classes until probably October, a month before she was due. And she had some complications after the pregnancy, just because her C-section got infected. But that was really pretty much it. She was back in the gym end of December, January. So she's been lifting for about 2 months now. Her numbers are way back up, in the triple digits for deadlifting and for squat, obviously squatting and benching. But it was impressive to watch her continue to just train at home, even with just, what she had, and, come out of her pregnancy and get back into lifting so soon and look so good, and be able to focus on form. I loved it. I loved seeing her back in the gym, and it was literally 8 weeks after her. I think that's the time frame, right? After you can resume.
Yeah. 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So for her, it was definitely, she got right back into it. So it's nice to have a doctor who knows the gym, knows what you do, is familiar with the activity that you do, and can reassure you that everything's okay. And just to make sure that, you're listening to yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. So many people can be naysayers, obviously, who don't understand what you're doing. And it's good that neither one of you had to really deal with that, because you can imagine not every female's experience is the same, obviously. And there are plenty of people out there who think that probably what both of you do is insane.
It's kind of the advantage of COVID and not seeing lots of people is that during pregnancy, you don't get everyone's input on everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Their opinion of, of what you should and should not be doing when they don't know the whole, they don't know you and they don't know your story. They're just, it's their opinion. And what opinions are. They're like, they're like assholes.
Yeah. Everyone has one.
Everyone has one, and that's always my biggest fear is, is what people will say, and you having to respond to that. And sometimes just ignore them. I think the biggest thing is just to ignore that, because they're not who you're dealing with anyway. So,
well, I think the thing that you guys are saying is you have to listen to yourself, right? Listen to your own body. And that is so much harder to do when you've got somebody else's louder voice saying something different. It's kind of harder to hear that quiet voice, and how that, how your body speaks to you is going to be sometimes dramatic in the moment, but a lot of times it's okay, I've got to actually think the next day about how do I feel? How did I recover? What's my real goal here? And how is my training supporting, the bigger, broader picture of the goal at the moment? And, the lifts will wait, when I can get the belt back on.
Yeah. Definitely. It's definitely been a journey as far as deciding okay, well, I'm going to continue doing this. There's no reason for me to stop doing it. Listening to your body, figuring out okay, this feels good. Maybe this doesn't feel as good. And then kind of trying to evaluate and be was it because my form may have not been great, or does this actually not feel good? And then trying to stay very in tune and feel oh, this is how I felt the next day. Is everything still feeling fine? And then continuing on and making little adjustments as things, progress. I know during my first trimester, I was just completely exhausted and nauseous all the time. So on top of the deadlift not feeling good, physically, just bending over while being constantly nauseous, I was I cannot do I was on top of it doesn't feel great. I had the mortifying feeling of oh my God, what happens if I throw up in the middle of the gym because I'm so nauseous? So.
We wouldn't have cared. We would have just cleaned. We would have cleaned it up for you.
Oh, well, thanks.
We would have cleaned it up. As I've been watching Kelly train, I think I told you, Kel, I've been trying to follow. Kelly hasn't been squatting with a belt because she can't, right? Because it's obviously uncomfortable, and now she's got this big belly. I've been trying to squat without a belt too and see how far I can go. Like, can I match the pregnant woman?
Yeah, it's been really good to kind of move away from being dependent on the belt.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how dependent I was on it. And I think it's just good overall to kind of back away from some of the assistance you get from it.
Right. Yeah. So I've been enjoying it.
I've got a question about that, like kind of specifically squat and, well, I mean, I don't know, squat and overhead are the two that I'm thinking of, but like as your shape changes, how does that affect the mechanics of your lift? Like your center of balance is different. Like how often do you notice like you have to make adjustments to like what is good form with, like a 6-month pregnancy is going to be slightly different than what it was at a 3-month pregnancy. Like how have you noticed any changes along those lines?
Yeah. I haven't noticed too many changes. I think I brought my deadlift stance out a little bit, but squats feel about the same. I'm also pretty tall and have a really long torso. So I don't have
nothing about that personally.
Yeah. So I don't have like, I don't look like I am I'm like 8 weeks out from giving birth.
Yeah.
I
rather than like
you in person, I've seen the photos and you look like, maybe 5 months
rather than like someone with normal proportions. I think I've been lucky in that it doesn't really throw off my balance and my center of gravity too much. So squat's been pretty normal. Overhead press, it's more just like core stability for having weight overhead, especially because my arms are so long. I need a lot of core stability to put a heavier weight overhead. And as you get bigger, your abs kind of start to separate a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Kel, you also stopped doing push-ups. So why, well, push-ups
range of motion.
Kel was doing push-ups before, like just, on the floor, but now that's been a little harder. Is it the belly? Is it your position? How you can,
I think a lot of it is just the extra body weight.
Yeah.
I think the belly would eventually get in the way just because I can't like get all the way down. But yeah, just having a good bit of extra weight, like 25 extra pounds is a lot because I was doing, I guess, like up to sets of 20. And the last time I did push-ups, 3 sets of 8 was really, really hard.
Well, you're doing like a weighted push-up.
Yeah.
It's like if Emily did a push-up and you put a 25-pound bumper plate on her back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like a really badly loaded weighted push-up.
Juliana,
Yeah. And it's just like kind of hard on the abs too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Juliana, what have you noticed in terms of any mechanics of your lifts changing?
So as opposed to Kelly, I come in at a, very tall, 5 feet flat.
Nice.
And so I don't have, a glorious long torso. And I've started recently in the past few weeks, I've started showing just a little bit, or like I've noticed. And so I'm starting to notice a little bit with squatting. I feel a little bit more compressed. And I think with that, I squat very deep or very low. And I think that there'll just be a little bit of adjustment that will have to happen with that. And then with overhead press, I find that I kind of do like an extra mental check of like, all right, like I've really found my balance. Cause like sometimes the weight is lower than it has been in the past. So, sometimes it'll go up quite quickly. And if I'm not really focused, I can find myself, kind of wobbling, cause a little bit of extra speed. And so I try and do like an extra mental check of like, oh, okay, like here's, I've added it kind of into my form check of like, all right, is everything good and balanced? I'm okay with this. All right. And then keep going. So yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed. I mean, Kel hasn't had to worry. He hasn't had to change her shoes for squatting. You're still lifting in your lifting shoes. It'll be curious, Juliana, to see if you stay in your lifting shoes. I definitely know of women who have had to remove their shoes and feel better squatting in like Chucks, or or flatter shoes because of balance issues. And it might just because of your size. The two of you are so different. I love that picture of the two of you next to your benches.
Yeah.
Benching where Kelly's bar is and where Juliana's bar is. So that's, that definitely changes things too. I mean, neither one of you, is going to, train or change the same, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I know that Kel, when you were early on and I had told you, you're training now for motherhood, not for strong women. You're like, I'm so weak. What's wrong with me? I'm so weak. I'm like, Kelly, your training is different now. You're training for a different sport.
It was a really hard mental adjustment.
Yeah. So talk about that, both of you. Like, start to talk about a little bit of like the mental adjustment of, I use quote unquote, I used to be so strong. What's wrong? Am I going to get back to that? And how that has, because lifting is very much a part of your life. For you, Kelly, it's been a very long part of your life. Juliana's just starting, but she's definitely into it and wants to continue. So how is that mental challenge? How has that mentally challenged you? Like, am I going to get back to where I was? Do I want to get back to where I was?
I think for me, it was interesting. I mean, it's definitely like kind of like your brain has to kind of like stall out a little bit, at least for me. Because I know, at least with training for Stronger Together, and then for the Strong Women competition, we had switched up my programming a little bit, and I was really enjoying like working up to 1 rep maxes, and it was really fun to kind of like switch things up. And then it was like, oh, actually, you have no choice into how things have to change.
Yeah.
And really kind of deciding like, okay, well, the number of like the amount of weight that I'm lifting isn't as important as really just making sure that I'm still moving and like really listening to my body and making sure like, okay, well, this feels good. And trying to think like, I know 95 pounds is not a lot, but it's something.
And it's just so funny because like, if you think about most people in a commercial gym, they'd be like, oh my gosh, 95 pounds, that's so heavy.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be lifting that. And you're like,
why are you doing that?
So far.
Yeah. Why are you doing that?
It definitely was interesting. And I found that like when I went from 95 to 100 pounds, I was like, I would get into my car after the workout and like text my husband Ravi and be like, I went from 95 to 100 pounds, and like just trying to like still like really celebrate any sort of like progress, or like, oh, I did, instead of 3 sets of 5, I did 4 sets of 5. Like, still trying to like find the moments of like, yeah, I still did this. Like, I'm still here. I'm still showing up. Like, I'm doing the time. Like, still trying to celebrate and know like, whenever, once, I've had the baby and healed and rested, that like, I definitely want to come back to the gym, and that will also be like another adjustment of something I've never done. And having to, again, continue to listen to my body and adjust. And of course, like I'm excited to, eventually lift heavy again one day. But it can wait, and things are changing. That's okay.
Yeah. Kel.
Yeah. It was kind of an adjustment to be like, this is a temporary thing, and I'm training for something very specific right now. And it seems like a really long time to not lift heavy, but I'll look back and it'll feel like nothing. And I'll be glad that I listened to my body. And I think actually lockdown was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it made me more flexible with like fitness and movement, and just kind of saying anything I can do that day is good. I don't have to get under a barbell and squat really heavy. So that kind of helped with my mindset a little bit. And then just having like the sciatica, a little bit of an injury, also helped me with that mentally as well.
So like you had some practice with that, it's not all or nothing, that
Yeah.
growth mindset, you know, I'm not there yet, or, you know, however that goes, but like you practiced it a little bit before it was
Yeah, because I've
applicable to the
definitely
pregnancy.
I've definitely been in the all or nothing mindset before. And that's
Right,
just kind
yeah,
of how I
that's easy to
am.
get into.
Yeah, just like, oh, well, if I'm not like squatting super heavy and doing all of my workouts to a T, then is it worth it?
Right.
And of course it's worth it.
And that goes back to this podcast is going to come out a couple, you know, the end of the month, not the end of this month, the end of April. So we'll have had a couple podcasts before this, and one of the podcasts that's coming out this week is Rebecca and I talked about not going heavy all the time and how that's okay, you know, and that we have to sometimes be okay with, we will make progress, we can make progress, and we'll make better progress if we don't think that the only way to get stronger is to constantly lift heavy. And in both your cases, you really had to like address that like head on, like, okay, because you both love lifting. I mean, you both love being strong. You love feeling strong. I think all the women in the gym love to see the number on the bar go up.
Definitely.
Right. I think it's more than even the guys. Like we're way more into it. And I mean, there are a lot of female lifters at the gym. So it's very important to us. And some of our friends may not understand that, you know, but it is to us. So I can imagine that, you know, seeing the numbers here and then all of a sudden realizing like, wow, this is where my body is right now, but it's okay. Like you said, I'm training for something different. And that helps too. It's almost like I said to Kel, you know, you're training for motherhood. Here's your program. It's your motherhood program. At least, but in a sense, it's like, it's a program. And if you have that mentality, and same for Juliana, like Gretchen helping you with giving you a program with kettlebells, it's a program. And so you say, okay, this is my program for the next how many months, just like you would if I gave you a program for Stronger Together to get you prepared for that, or for Strong Woman. That gives you something to look forward to. Like, this is something different. I haven't done this before. This is a new program. Kel's been doing a lot of upper body work. And I told her, I said, look, go into your pregnancy like as jacked as crap up top. So all the nurses are like, whoa, she lifts.
And you will have no problem carrying like the baby carrier and the bag.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the same, like with Juliana, like once you get, you know, as you get going on, like just focusing on upper body. I mean, kind of, you know, getting the lower body stuff in and then just banging out like curls and press it, you know, overhead stuff with dumbbells, whatever you can do to just kind of like build that upper body strength, because the lower body, you're carrying this down here.
It's like a constant little workout all the time.
Yeah, always, you know, so it's been exciting kind of watching your program change, I think, and it'll continue to change.
Yeah. And it's awesome to have the support system and the coaches available with the knowledge to be like, oh, this doesn't feel good. How about we try this?
Yes.
And kind of have like, not like kind of like a Rolodex of like, let's try this and this and this. It's like, we'll find out what it is that works and what feels good.
Yeah.
And when we figure that out, we will just continue down that path.
And that's like, I do the same thing with people who have an injury. I mean, it's the same. It's just, you just modify. It doesn't matter. You modify, and then you get back on track when you can. And for both of you, it'll be after the pregnancy. Once you've had that, you know, you've been given the go ahead to start training again, you'll come back, you'll see where you are, and you'll go from there, and you'll listen to your body again, you know, and you'll have to listen to the little one next to you who decides when he wants to eat or she wants to eat, like Jen, you know, and she's like, well, guess training is done for today. I'm like, yep, moving on. So your program will be different then too, you know. Jen started out with trying to get 3 lifts in and do the same kind of linear progression. And I realized after, you know, how many weeks, I was like, he's not going to let you come in and do 3 lifts. You got to get your squat done. Then you got to move on to something else. Like it's going to
leave him at home with Jason.
Right. Well, but she comes in the morning, and he's back to teaching, but she likes it. She's like, I like the 4-day split. I like doing this. I like having 2 lifts. I said, yeah, that's your program right now. And then maybe it'll change to where you can do 3 lifts again, but the 2 lifts 4 days a week, if you can come 4 days a week, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to have a program that lends itself to your lifestyle now. I mean, you can't force yourself to do this program because you've done it before.
Definitely.
You know, the whole world's going to change in a few months.
Yep.
So, yeah. Just don't scare Diego like Molly did when she was like pushing the prowler the 2 days before she gave birth, and Diego's like, she's going to push that baby right out of her.
Oh my gosh.
That's what he said to me when I was pushing the prowler. And I was like, that's not really how it works.
I'm imagining Diego having like some sort of like trauma around pregnant women prowling.
No, he was watching
pregnant women prowling.
He was watching her push that prowler, and Molly was trying to, because she was trying to get him to like, she was trying to put herself into labor. And she's at the gym, and Diego's like, she's going to push that baby right out of her.
Diego's not ready to catch a baby at the gym? What?
I was like, I don't think she's going to do it here. Don't worry. He goes, I don't know. I'm just not prepared. I'm like, you don't need to be prepared.
I would say that in most cases, where the gym is located, there's enough hospitals.
Yeah.
Right around that would be a very
typically we have a couple nurses on staff, who are there as well. And if Nikki's ever there, well, we got a labor and delivery nurse right there. So, and I'm
sure will be the new home birth is the gym birth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can write a new book about delivery methods, the gym birth method.
Yeah, I don't think he would be the one to have to catch the baby.
Yeah.
I just remember him so upset because he's so worried. And then he's watching you push the prowler. He's like, oh no, not again.
So now my mental note is like, come like 8 months, I'm going to start prowling just for Diego.
Like literally say to him, I'm supposed to be due this week. I need to push this prowler. And he's going to go, no.
He'll excuse himself from the gym. He'll be like, I can't be party to this.
Yeah, it was pretty, it was a pretty traumatic event for him. He still thinks about it to this day.
Yeah, that was like the first thing he mentioned to me. When he knew I was pregnant, I was pushing the prowler. He's like, I thought Molly was going to give birth to Jim. I was like, I don't think that's how it works, but okay.
You're talking about squatting, feeling good, Cal, earlier, and that made me think about one of the cues I give people, all the time when I'm trying to like get them to learn how to squat between their legs, sit back with your hips, push your knees out. And I say, you have to think about, like I say, you either have a powerlifting belly or imagine you're 9 months pregnant. And now I can use all the women around me and I can say, see, watch her squat. See how her belly sits between her legs? Do that. And they're like, oh, okay. But it probably does feel good. It probably does feel good to like squat in that position. I mean, and think that, it's beneficial, definitely beneficial to, they talk about strengthening your pelvic floor. Well, nothing's as good as squatting, no matter what you have on your back.
Yeah.
No matter how much weight, but that's definitely a cue that I give to people. Imagine you're 9 months pregnant and they go,
and the guys are like, I can't.
And I go, watch Kelly squat like her. And Diego's always going, squat like the pregnant woman. Yeah, it is kind of crazy how many pregnancies there are that's like in the next coming months. I mean, how it just kind of, and these are members and non-members, right? I mean, women that have been members of the gym who are due in July, a couple people in July. And it's wild. I said, Diego, I guess we've been open long enough for this to happen. And all these,
it's something in the water at the new location.
All these young women, also all these women who started with us, like in their, maybe mid 20s or late 20s, and now are at that age where they're starting to have a family. I'm like, oh my God, all my babies are growing up.
Now at the age where it's now or never.
Right.
We're like mid 30s.
Right. I guess you're considered an older mother to be, and Juliana's right on time, right on, she's, they're not worried about you. They're worried about Kel because she's 35.
Yeah. It's not geriatric anymore. It's advanced maternal age.
Oh,
there was a woman
that language finally.
Yeah. It's AMA.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But
did you see the thing in the news though this week? There was a woman who was 57 who gave birth.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, thank you.
Good luck.
I mean, whatever, that's her choice, her thing. But
Yeah.
I like sleeping.
I told Kelly I said, I can't wait till once I'm vaccinated, I get to hold babies again. So
Yeah. Right now you do an awesome, like, stroller push. And as the little one cries a little bit more, you like change the pace up.
Yep. I do it back and forth. I do a little slalom. I do the slalom in between the stools, but I'm available as a babysitter. So I'm just making myself known to you, Juliana, and
Awesome.
Kelly knows I'm not too far from any of you. So
Yes.
I have nothing to do on Saturday night, but hang out with my husband. So I will be happy to come and babysit.
Good to know.
I'm opening myself there. Anything else that we have not touched upon that you wanted to talk about? Or Rebecca, did you have any other questions?
No, I mean, I guess I was curious about like, what did your doctors say? Like if anybody had been discouraging you, like the center balance thing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, and just, I mean, like Kelly, you're talking about like the training mindset and how that will be helpful in the labor and delivery. But what you guys have also already described is this ability to adapt, find out what works. And that's going to help you even after the baby is born.
Oh, yeah.
Like Emily is describing with Jen, like you may have ideas about what you want to get back to doing or on your timetable, but your timetable is somebody else's after the baby arrives. And to have already worked on those skills of being able to be resilient and mentally adaptable and finding what you can do is just going to help you later as well.
Yeah.
So you guys are in really good shape for all this.
Yeah.
That's the thing people like to bring up. They're like, oh, you won't have time to exercise when the baby comes. I'm like, but
you find time and you find what you can do.
You find time for the things that are really important.
Right. Yeah. And then you got Emily and she'll get her vaccination and,
And then you're going to have to hold all of the babies.
I know. I can't wait. That's why we have the baby nook now. So
I have extra ergo baby carriers.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what
There's so many ways. Yeah.
I was always jealous of like watching Bo when he's walking around the gym with like carrying a baby on his back or in front of him. I'm like, God wants to be. I want to be that. When I was. I mean, I had Isaiah before. Before COVID, I had Isaiah. And I think that's important. Like you were talking about. So Rebecca, you mentioned, being adaptable, and both of you have definitely had to work on that, and you're thinking about that after. And the good thing is, I'm glad that I've had that experience already. I had that experience a little bit with April, but more so now, definitely with Molly and with Jen. And with Molly, because COVID happened so quickly after Isaiah was born, it was a little harder. And then but with Jen, it's been kind of easier to see like, okay, what can we do quickly to adapt and be able to program immediately and reprogram and then change up and modify as we need to. That's great for me. Just gives me more practice to be able to help you when you return and provide you with good information and good programming, because that's kind of the key. It's like, well, what do I do now? What can I do? What can I do? Oh, you can do this. Oh, that's okay. I can make progress still. Yes. I think we have that mentality of like, you don't have to do 3 lifts every time. You don't have to do 2 lifts. You can do 1 big lift. I mean, you're learning that now. You're learning that squat and then go into the turf room and get all your bro stuff. Next time you come in, you deadlift.
We've talked about this before too, but it comes down to how you're defining progress. And there's different ways to define it besides I've got more weight on the bar this time than I did last week or whatever. And so you find those other ways. Like Juliana, you're saying you're finding ways to celebrate what you were able to do at the gym, regardless of how that compared to what you had done previously. It did an extra set. It's like you find the ways to see the progress, to see, the benefit, and maybe you just measure it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Being able to just change your mind frame. And like, for me, at least, I mean, like lifting is still like, makes me feel really good. It's still really exciting. Like I really enjoy it. And just changing what I celebrate, and what I like find pride and joy in. and come back and like, oh, I did this today. Or like whether I'm talking with, my husband or like occasionally my dad will be like, so how is the gym going? It's very sweet.
Yeah.
And before it was like, oh, like, I squatted, like 200, some odd pounds, or like, oh, I benched, over 100 pounds. And it was really exciting because those were like firsts for me. And it's something that I could relate with my dad about. And now he's like, how is lifting going? Is everything still feeling good?
Yeah.
And it's very sweet. And everyone's been so supportive.
It's good.
I feel really lucky, one, to, have my midwife who's really supportive and understanding, have a family who's really supportive, and then also have a gym where like the coaches are supportive, and to have seen other women go through entire pregnancies and then come back to the gym, and to see like, the entire progression is wonderful.
It's that support network is huge. I think that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Like the fact that you have your midwife who's your friend, who's very supportive and understanding, and like, hey, do what feels right. And Kelly, you have a doctor who has worked with so many other women who have trained the same way. Finding a doctor, finding someone who's going to support you in that is extremely important. Think about how many times you go to a doctor and you have an injury and you say, oh yeah, well, I squat, and they go, why are you squatting? That's why your knee hurts. You should stop squatting immediately. And you're like, well, I don't want to squat. Like squatting's good for me. And so you try to find somebody who's going to support your needs. And that's very important, because you want your doctor to be educated in what you do. And if they're not, you find a new doctor. That's why I tell people, like, you find a new doctor. I mean, you find a doctor who understands, who has been an athlete, him or herself, who has worked with a number of people. You search for those individuals, because they are going to provide you with what you need to go as you go through, the next few months. You don't want somebody who's constantly telling you what you're doing is bad. Yeah. Bad for you, bad for the baby, bad for this. It's like, maybe that's for somebody else, but that's not you. It's like Jordan and Feigenbaum and Austin Baraki, two coaches who are barbell medicine coaches, who are doctors and also athletes. So they have a lot of clients who they see, who they are their doctors, because they understand what those people do. So if there's an injury, they can help them. If they understand the benefits of strength training, so they can help them in all aspects of their life. They're not going to tell them squatting is bad for their knees. They're not going to tell them deadlifts are bad for your back. They've already because they've educated themselves. So that's a lot of women don't have that kind of support, perhaps from their doctors. And I'm hoping that those who don't find new doctors don't stay with those, or maybe the doctors need to like get a clue,
broaden their horizons.
Yeah. Get a clue and start to realize.
I think also like what doctors are being taught in medical school is changing, and is more adapted to the way women use their bodies, to women as athletes, to women as lifters. Like I have a friend who told me in medical school, I think something along the lines of like women lifting heavy and getting hernias was sort of an inevitable thing, at least in the way it was taught at that time. So it's like, that's like 30, 40 years ago or something. But yeah, I think there's been some change there also. So
I just
shouldn't be hard to find like a doctor who has like a different experience than.
It's such a good thing that both of you have such a good support network and don't have anybody kind of in your ear, as so many people might.
Yeah, actually, that was the one good thing that I got out of the hypnobirthing, Kelly. It's like they said, do not let anyone tell you their birthing story.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Everybody likes to make it like really dramatic and tell you all the things. Just they were like, don't listen, excuse yourself. And they actually tasked the guy, right? Like, this is your job. Your job is shield her from anybody's story. If you hear anybody starting to lay down their birth story, you intervene. You say, excuse yourself.
That's good.
That's go do that thing over there.
That's good.
That's something even people like to do. They're always like, just you wait. Like, I haven't gotten it about like birthing, but about like pregnancy. Like, just you wait. By this point, you're going to be so uncomfortable. You're not going to be able to walk. And I'm like, no,
Everybody
good.
loves telling their worst case story.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel so much better about myself now.
Yeah.
It's like you want to share all of like the horror stories and the bad stories, and it's like I mentally start to think like, are you not taking stock of like the good positive things that happen or like the nice fun things? Because like I mean, I hope I don't, post delivery, try and share, horror stories with other, expecting moms, because I feel like
it's everyone's
like
personal business.
You're in the headlights almost.
That's why I didn't really talk too much about my incident around Thanksgiving, because I was like, I don't want to scare anyone.
No, right?
It's like super rare.
I thought it was badass. That's all I'm saying. I was just like, this is Kelly's badass. I know Kelly's badass. I didn't know she was this badass. I mean, this is some like badass shit right here. Diego's like, she's what? I was like,
Emily, you're supposed to keep it G-rated, remember?
All right. Ass is okay. Ass is okay. I think ass is okay.
Yeah, you go back and listen to all that.
We don't swear that much on this podcast.
That's what editing's for.
It's true. I'm not going to edit that part out. Yeah, but no, you don't want to scare anybody. So I think sharing your birthing story with somebody, it's like, yeah, excuse yourself. Excuse me.
I mean, sometimes they're, absolutely beautiful and filled with, like wonderful things. And you're like, oh, wow. Like, I hope I have a delivery that's even close to that. And sometimes you're like, oh no, like I didn't even think of that as a, in my mental list of possibilities of things that could go wrong. Cause I've got,
like what you need is one more thing to run add to your list of stuff I'm concerned about.
Positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Positive
even
thoughts.
like the positive ones, like my crunchy friend that sent me the hypnobirthing book, she likes to talk about how amazing her birth was and how it was so great that her baby wasn't drugged like other babies.
Oh God.
And I was like, and she's sitting next to my other friend who had a C-section. And I was like, why are you saying
whatever,
this?
Any means possible. Get the baby out by any means possible.
I'm really glad that worked out well for you, but
yeah.
I mean, like the end goal is healthy baby, healthy mom.
That's right.
And whatever route that you need to go to ensure that.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, it's unique per each family, per each birth. But I'm not going to, turn my nose up at somebody else's experience.
Yeah.
Or you can't.
Mine was so good because of all of these great things that you couldn't control, lady.
That's right.
Yeah. And our birth class, they talked about how a positive birth experience isn't really about what actually ends up happening, because you can't really control that. It's that you feel like your birth team hears you and that you're respected and that you had input in what was happening to you. So even if you go in with the idea that you want a completely unmedicated vaginal birth and you end up with an emergency C-section, if you feel like your care team heard you, was taking good care of you, you were respected, you can still walk away with a positive experience.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way they're defining a positive experience, because the other thing that, like, whatever, little bee in my bonnet, is like, there is so much in life that is outside of our control, and we fool ourselves all the time. And it's like, to me, one of the great levelers in dealing with that misperception is birth and parenthood. And so when they're sort of already establishing for you some realistic parameters about how to judge a successful experience to make you feel positive about it, regardless of what happened, because there's so many things that are just with anything in life that are outside of your control. Like you're talking about, even before, you get COVID lockdowns, you had sciatica, like all these things that are affecting your your training that are outside of your control, in a lot of ways. And so, and that's
why, coming back to and so training is within your control. That's why training is so good. Early strength training, because you can control that. You can control so many factors. You can control the weight of the bar. You can control the implement that you're using, the sets, the reps, the volume. You can control all that. That is you. And
but that's how you set up the parameters.
Exactly.
Too, right?
You set the parameters. And so
you have to be flexible about how you set those parameters.
And if you have a supportive training environment and a coaches who were explaining to you, yep, perfect. That was awesome. That's great. Oh, you're backing up. Good. Are you recovering enough? You might want to back off some more weight. I mean, it's me like checking in with both of you every time you come in. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Noticing the weight on the bar, noticing, like, oh, there's Juliana, nice squats. There's some weight on that bar. Because, I was watching 95 pounds and then it's nice to see 135. So it's having that, it's having that support network all over, because it's only going to help you once you get there and have whatever comes out is going to be successful. If you,
It's awesome because it's not like, I mean, like you were the first person I told that I was pregnant. And then, each of the coaches found out, one after another. And when I come in, it's never just Emily being like, how are you feeling? Is everything good? Like Gretchen and Craig, like everybody, like there's definitely kind of like a check-in, like Craig, looks at me and is like, you doing good? And Gretchen like, will watch, how my squats are going, or, how, whatever I'm doing with the kettlebells. So there's like a whole network of people who are also looking out to make sure everything is good, which is amazing.
I mean, even if I don't say anything, Kel, like when like with Juliana, like I see the weight on the bar. If I see the weight on the bar, I'm just acknowledging, like I'm looking, going, good, okay, I don't need to say anything. Because if I see too much weight, I'm going to go.
How get a little extra look.
Yeah, it's like, how many reps are you doing there? Oh, just a single. Okay. Because I just want to make sure that you're balancing yourself, that you're not trying to like, oh, I can push the envelope a little bit more. It's like, no, come on, let's rein it in. It's okay. There'll be time for that 300-pound deadlift in the future.
Yeah.
Right now, we need to stick with this. But yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think it should be that way. It's your experience. It's not my experience. Not anybody else's experience. It's your experience. And whatever you decide to do, however you decide to proceed, should be supported by whoever is in your, in your world, working with you. Yeah. Anything else that we haven't touched on?
No.
That we haven't commented on, is something you want to add to this. I'd definitely want to do a follow-up podcast, in
a post baby, like how do you do the training with the baby? Does Emily hold the baby? Do you put the baby in the front carrier and do you squat like you had?
I mean, it'd be good. Like I want to have this because I'd like to be able to have you all be able to share it with other people, or, friends, anybody who's kind of curious, maybe who's not obviously at the gym, but who is strength training and needs to hear a story, like hearing other women and hearing positive things. Like, I'm still training, I'm still lifting, I'm modifying, I listen to myself. I have people telling me to listen to myself, and I'm okay with where I am. I'm okay with, if you had told me you wanted to stop lifting and you only wanted to do dumbbells, great. No problem. If you told me you didn't want to do anything, I'd be like, let's talk about it.
I feel like some movement is
why don't you want to do anything? Are you nervous? Are you scared of, I can understand that. But let's see what we can come up with, even if it's like a body weight program, because movement is going to be, I mean, obviously the more you move, the more you exercise, the better you're going to feel, going into this, the delivery, because that is going to take such a toll. I don't know this. I'm only seeing experience, other people who have experienced this, but I imagine it takes quite a toll on your body. There's quite a lot of effort there. You've been carrying this baby for 9 months too. So there's that as well. So kudos to all three of you, because Rebecca's done it 4 times. Well, not 4 times, 3 times.
2 of them were,
3 times, because 2 came out.
That last one where the 2 came out.
Yeah. And we've got one of our clients who's due end of April, early May. She's pregnant with twins.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There's somebody who has really had to modify. We didn't get her on for this, but definitely had to modify very early on, and definitely has had to stop, like as of now. She's just so tired because she's so big and she's carrying 2 full size babies. Like they're
now you know where my interest in your changing center of gravity comes from.
Yeah.
Twins, I had to like lay down all the time because I didn't stand up and get pulled over.
Deadlifts are not, we're not cutting it. A lot of things we're just not cutting it anymore. I mean, she didn't come in last week and I said, how's Alexa? And Chris was like, she's done. She's just so tired. She's so tired. And she's got a 2-year-old that she's got to,
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
yeah.
a lot of
So,
work.
but he said to her, he said, yeah, but give her 4 or 5 months and just get her back under that bar when she's ready. And like, oh, we will. And, and she will. She enjoys it. And the fact that she continued to do this, during her pregnancy was fantastic, because she started with us after her firstborn. She started, I think, about not quite a year after. And then she found out she was pregnant. And then she found out she was pregnant with twins. That was like an even bigger shock.
It's a big whirlwind.
Yeah. And she really, and we modified, and she modified as she needed, but she kept training. She kept doing something. I think she does like stroller strides, or what she does, fitness. So she does. So she's still very active. I mean, as active as she can be, considering she's carrying 2 babies around. And she's, how tall is Alexa, Kel? Like taller than Juliana.
5'4", maybe.
5'4", maybe 5'4".
Yeah.
So she holds it. She's holding it right in front. Like she's totally different than Kel, who's holding it real low. So definitely but yes, I would definitely like to have you, and maybe even her on next time after the twins are born. She'll do it to talk about her experience, and then talk about, getting back to it.
So thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you
It was
so
really
much.
great to talk to you. It's nice to see you by Zoom.
Hopefully we can see you in person soon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna get up there. Like, my kids started back with hybrid, so I'm thinking Mondays I might be able to make it back up.
Oh, good.
But you guys are usually at night. So.
They're in the evening.
Yeah.
But Strong Woman should be on this year, in some respects. So hopefully you can come up for Strong Woman, Rebecca, and.
You always do that the same week as the county fair.
Is it September 12th?
Doesn't matter. One year they moved the date of the county fair, and you had Strong Woman that same date. Anyway, it is kind of cool to me to have the 2 things happening simultaneous, because a lot of the strong man, strong woman events are based on this like agrarian culture, and I just think that's fascinating to see like the 2 things side by side. But it's hard to do both in the same weekend, at least to the degree that my family is involved with 4-H. It's hard
You'll have to be up for December, at least, for Stronger Together.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Todd was already going like, when's Sadie's next meet?
That'd be cool for Kelly's next meet. I'm thinking maybe Stronger Together might be fun.
I don't know that it's gonna be ready in time for City Strong Woman.
No.
I hope to be there wearing the baby, watching.
Toss babies. Toss them.
Oh, yeah.
Wait for height. Wait for height with the baby.
Wait for height. Oh, that's terrible.
Or like throwing them, like the sandbag. No, you'll be there with baby in tow.
I'll be there with the baby.
And Juliana will be having her baby, pretty much.
Hopefully we'll have had the baby. Right. I mean, if not, like, it's only a few blocks away.
We'll make the announcement at the contest. All right, ladies, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and good luck to both of you. Good luck to both of you, and of course, I'll be seeing you this week at the gym.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Great to see you guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.